Before you watch this episode of Inside Gooners, make sure you check out this exclusive new customer offer. Back Arsenal to beat Crystal Palace at 30-1 this weekend. Head to talksportbet.com/Inside Gooners to claim now.
In terms of the consistency of the delivery, the accuracy of those deliveries, and the whip that he gets on it as well, who else is doing that in world football?
I've got to mention Zubimendi, by the way.
Yeah. I was getting there.
I was getting there because he is under the radar.
You saw the reaction from a lot of the players. They were buzzing for him, and I think that says a lot.
I'm not being funny. We're top of the league. We just beat Atletico Madrid like 4-0. Haven't conceded a goal in the Champions League stages, right? So new signings, I don't see how anybody can go, they're questionable.
Top of the Premier League at the moment. Favourites for the Prem? Hello, I'm Nick Bright and welcome to Inside Gooners, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet. Now, we can't wait to get stuck into today's show with plenty of positivity on the agenda. A crucial win at Fulham on Saturday, well, that was followed up by a classy performance last night at the Emirates against Atletico Madrid. And helping me dissect it all is Perry Groves and Rory Talks Football. Listen, boys, come on, what a result for the Arsenal last night.
Just a nice little wry smile, a satisfaction it can be, can't it? And let's be honest, it's a statement win. Like Atletico Madrid, I said last night, I like a beast of Champions League football, and everybody expected it to be tight, which it was for the first 57 minutes. And then once we opened it up, then we were ruthless and put them to the sword, which was the atmosphere as well in the Emirates was absolutely rocking last night. So it was a good night for everybody.
Yeah, I've been trying to play the nonchalant gimmick this season. Just 3 points, no injuries, move on to the next one. But last night it was one of those performances where you start getting a bit giddy about what could be possible this season.
Oh, don't, you're getting me excited. You're getting me excited. Well, listen, Perry, it took us a little while to get going. You know, the first half, I'm not going to sit here and say I was worried, but I was a little bit concerned. But everybody predicted a tight game. But once we got going, we really did. Yeah,
I thought we started off first 15, 20 minutes. We were on it, we were passing it, we were closing down. They sat deep. It was apparently now it's a mid block. It's not like a low block. It's a mid block, which means they're defending their own half, but not at the edge of the 18-yard box. So they went basically 4-4-2. Declan Rice should have scored when Ez's one comes back off the crossbar. He should have hit it. Saka had a brilliant chance where he goes through 1v1. Oblak goes to Peter Schmeichel. Then it went a little bit more even. And then we got away one, actually. David Raya got away one a couple of times because the first time we had a free kick in the right-hand corner and they clear it. And Simeone's on his. It was like watching under 10s. You know, when you're watching everybody just runs forward and someone's just left on their own. And there was you could feel the gasp in the Emirates, and then David Raya kicks it out. Then he gets away with another one where he should boot it and it goes out for throw-in, comes to Alvarez, and Alvarez should score. Do you know what I mean? He bends it, he should bend it, and it goes wide. Then they hit the bar in the second half. Alvarez went 0-0. So all these sliding doors moments. What you have to do is, once you get the advantage, which you did, you have to be ruthless. And that 13-minute period from 57th minute to the 7th minute, it was probably our best 13 minutes of the season where we went for the juggler.
I mean, we jumped ahead slightly, but what did you make of the starting 11? I know we've got hindsight now because we won the game 4-0, but Lewis-Skelly came in, Gabriel Martinelli came in as well. Those are the two changes, and it paid dividends.
Yeah, I think the Lewis-Skelly one is because Calafiori has been brilliant, by the way, this season. But in that game, you've got to give Arteta credit because he knew we needed control, and he knew that Lewis-Skelly coming in more of the inverted left back, and he proved it obviously for our second goal, which we'll talk about later on, but he gave us that little bit more control in that midfield area, and obviously Martinelli gets his goal. So you have to say to Arteta, your selections were brilliant. Also, as well, I love the fact that when we were 3-0 up, he took 3 off and went, game's done, which he wasn't doing last season. It's like, come and have a rest, we've got a big game on Sunday.
I mean, that's what you can do when you've got the depth that we have. Listen, Rory, set piece again, ole. I think it is. A couple more set piece goals. Declan Rice with a fantastic delivery once again for the first one. I mean, does he have the best delivery in the Premier League at the moment? Maybe in world football at the moment?
I think he might do. I think it's a weird one because you look at a defensive midfielder and it's almost weird to say that they're the best set piece taker in the world. But in terms of the consistency of the delivery, the accuracy of those deliveries, and the whip that he gets on it as well, who else is doing that in world football? I'm not sure there is anyone right now. And it's such a weapon for us to have it breaks open that game. You know, before that as well, that first kind of 5-10 minutes of the second half, we'd had to dig in a bit. That was probably the most that Atletico came at us. I think that's a real good asset to have, is that we can kind of just sit in and go, all right, we'll deal with what you've got. But you go up the other end, you break the game open, and there aren't many other teams that can do that.
So you're saying that Declan Rice is our James Ward-Prowse, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, with a lot more to his game.
A little bit more athletic, I think, as well. No offence. You mentioned there, Rory, though, that the start of the second half, we did have to dig in. It was dangerous. Alvarez whacked one against the crossbar, which would have been an absolute worldie. And it's those fine margins at the top level. You know, they go your way, and then we run out 4-0 winners.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been an unbelievable goal, and the sort of one that you just hold your hands up and you go, we've not even given him a chance there, but he's just pulled out a worldie. But yeah, those are the moments that define games. You go 1-0 down against Atletico, that's a horrible situation to be in. So rode our luck a little bit, like you said, with the Raya one in the first half as well. But once you've done that, we've now got the ability to kind of turn it up a notch. And I feel like Declan Rice is one of those players that he kind of, through the first half, he gets the job done, and then in the second half, he's like, right, now we'll turn the screw. And the whole team did that in that kind of 15 minutes of blitzing them. Yeah,
well, let's go through the goals then. We've kind of touched on the first one, but, you know, brilliant delivery, brilliant header from Gabriel again. You know, he just seems to be in the right place at the right time. But that's by design. It's not a fluke, Perry.
Yeah, they work on it. The team that I played in, we were very big on set piece. We used to have the near post flick on, Steve Bold, Tony Adams comes, right? And we're getting this sort of narrative is, Arsenal are only scoring goals from set pieces. And I'm like, well, it is part of the game.
Yeah.
You are allowed to score from set pieces. And what they've done is they've made that bit because they know that at the Emirates, 9 times out of 10, the teams come and sit deep. So you're going to get free kicks, especially Gyökeres, you're going to get free kicks in around the 18-yard box, in the wide areas for corners, whatever. And I don't know if you notice as well, it's very, very structured. It's not, we very rarely take a quick free kick or quick corner, because what they want is, they want everybody to calm down. Then you take that little bit longer time and you hope that the defenders then lose their concentration. Yeah. And then there's movement. And I like it when you're in referee, he said he did it about 4 or 5 times last night, where I think it was Simeone was trying to cause a bit of havoc on Lewis-Skelly, and he told, but we want that, because you want that little bit of extra time where there's a little bit more mayhem, then they calm down, then the delivery, but then it's about the delivery, but then it's about the movement as well. There's a lot of blocking that goes on in those areas, whether it's Saliba or it's Gyökeres. And you could see with the Atletico Madrid defenders, 2 of them looked as if they were going to push out, 3 of them looked like they were going to drop back, and that's where you get the gap. So, to be fair, it wasn't a free kick either. That again, which is funny, because Gyökeres actually, I think it was Simeone again, I think he shoulder barged him out of the way. So again, you have to take advantage of those moments. But then we were more ruthless in the big moments. We were miles more clinical.
Speaking of ruthless, Rory, the second goal, a brilliant goal. People accuse Arsenal of not being able to score from open play. Well, this one was a brilliant goal, and obviously a fantastic finish from Martinelli, but it's all about Miles Lewis-Skelly in it, the run from his own half.
Yeah, it's weird. That's almost becoming like a trademark. I remember he did it against PSG in the semi-final, and Martinelli had a similar opportunity, saved that time, but that run, he's so powerful. And I think people still don't realise necessarily how strong he is on the ball, and that pace that he builds quickly. He takes 4 players out of the game, and then it's the weight of the pass into Martinelli where he forces Martinelli's decision for him, because that's one thing you can be critical of Martinelli, is the decision making, and when he's got time to think, he's not as clinical, but he puts it on a plate in a way that it's like, you're going to have to hit that first time to do it, and he does, and yeah, it's Henry-esque type finish.
You know what, they had a little bit, you know, I always watch them when they're warming up, and they do their little drills, and they do little passing drills, and they do the closing down, which I'm like, don't run about too much in the closing down, chaps, because you've got a game coming up, do you know what I mean? So, but they did a lot of drills where it was going into Gyökeres, coming back out, Saka coming in, Martinelli coming in, Gyökeres laying it off, and then both bending it into the far corner. That's exactly how it panned out. So, and that's why Lewis-Skelly was in the side. It's the exact reason. If you're Thomas Tuchel and everybody's going, well, who's going to be left back for England? You're looking at that going, actually, he should be the left back. Number 1, because he's left-footed, so you get better angles. And number 2, he can go in midfield, and that releases other midfield players to go further forward.
Well, I mean, this is inside Gooners, not inside England. But I mean, Thomas Tuchel really fancies Lewis-Skelly, doesn't he? Seems to keep picking him, keep playing him, even though he's not necessarily been playing for Arsenal.
Yeah, and I think it's good because the levels that we're at, as Roy said there, is him and Calafiori are going to be battling for that left-back position, and either one that plays, Arsenal fans are like, all right, that's all right, that don't matter, because there is no drop-off. Calafiori gives you something, a bit more physicality, a bit of difference, maybe a bit of more a threat going forward around the 18-yard box, and Lewis-Skelly gives you that control. So if that makes Lewis-Skelly's level have to go up, then happy days.
And also, he's blindingly handsome as well as Calafiori. So, I mean, if that helps...
And he smells fantastic as well. I can confirm that he wafts as he walks past.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he smells good.
Oh, yeah. That should be a feature that they should do on the sports bar. Maybe they can do the best smelling
footballer. There you go, exactly.
Sounds right up O'Hara Street, that does. Let's talk about Gyökeres then. It's taken a little while for him to find the back of the net once again, and he got a brace last night too. The first one, I mean, both of them, let's be honest, weren't exactly spectacular, but it doesn't matter, Rory.
No, it doesn't matter. And last night was a performance that we've seen from him in the games leading up to it, and he deserved those goals. But ultimately, he's still doing the same things. He's making the right movement. He's stretching the centre-backs. And this time he gets the 2 goals. And so now people will leave off him, at least for a week or something, hopefully. But yeah, in terms of what he's offering, I think Arteta has spoken about it at length. It is crucial to freeing up other players. And you look at the performances that like Saka's been putting in, he's got that space now that he hasn't had previously. So, yeah, the work that I think Gyökeres has put in deserved the goals. And you saw the reaction from a lot of the players. They were buzzing for him, and I think that says a lot.
You know what was, when you're watching it, when he scored, he didn't go mad because it was relief. It was like, in his own head, he's thinking, that'll calm everyone down a bit. I won't be as scrutinised. And the first goal and the second goal, we don't score that last season because we don't have a player in the 6-yard box, especially the second one which headed across. How many times last season where it was going across the yard and we're like, we need a centre forward. And it looks easy, comes off, he's fine, he puts it in. And when you're watching him live, there's a lot of people who are criticising him, haven't been to live games, and you see what he does in the channels. And an example of a central focal point, people forget, when Didier Drogba first went to Chelsea, I think they won it in 2004, 2005, 2006, Didier Drogba got 10 goals and 12 goals. But no one mentions it because he was that, you know what I mean? He was that good and made that. No one goes, oh, he didn't get you 20 goals. Gyökeres is going to be one of them ones. He's going to be like a 15 to 20. I've got a bet with Charlie George that he gets 20 Premier League goals. So I just want to pee him off so I take his money off it. But if we win the title and he scores 12 Premier League goals, who cares?
Yeah,
no one cares.
Well, it's the same as who cares about all the set-piece stuff. The narrative around that is it's irritating, to be honest with you. I don't know why I'm letting it irritate me because, look, if Arsenal win, I don't give a monkeys. But for some reason, rival fans, they expect us to almost be embarrassed that we're scoring all these set-piece goals. It's quite a strange thing.
You know what happens when you're playing, we are that good defensively as a team. I don't want to say it too early, obviously playing Palace, but the last 5 games, we've allowed on average under 10 shots of the opposition per game. And that's everybody working. And when you go 1-0 up, and I was in a team that was famous for 1-0 for the Arsenal, especially the nearly Invincibles team, 1990-91, when you go 1-0 up, you can actually see the body language of the opposition players changes. It's like, in their heads, they're going, we ain't scoring 2. And also from set pieces, there is that, tenseness that you get from them when they know we're that good at set pieces, we're that good at free kicks, that then their worry lift goes. Do you know what I mean? So there's all this psychological stuff that goes on. As I said, but the set pieces, you score from one, then it opens up. I've got to mention Zubimendi, by the way.
Yeah. I was getting there.
I was getting there because he is under the radar. He's like the conductor, right?
Unreal.
And for the older generation, there's an ice skater called Robin Cousins who just used to glide around. You know, when someone makes it look very easy, then he's the best assist for the assist, because it was then the third goal where it's a brilliant ball into Martinelli to start off with. And then, but he doesn't. I think there is stats now, isn't there? The pre-assist or whatever it is now.
Yeah, probably.
But he's one of
stats
those
for everything
ones.
nowadays, lads.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How many gingers are in the team?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a miss though, isn't he? In the next match, he got a yellow card. Zubimendi did, so he won't be available for Slavia Prague.
Yeah, didn't mind that too much because him and Rice were both 1 away, and you think, well, let Zubimendi take one now. Slavia Prague, you could probably deal with that. Hopefully Rice doesn't get one in that game. They can both play against Bayern. I think the game after that's Club Brugge, so maybe then Rice can take his. But no, I think with Zubimendi, I think the credit for me goes to the fact that he looks like he's been at Arsenal for 5 years. He looks like he's accustomed to the Premier League, and ultimately this is still his first season. And in that role, that position, coming from any league, really, people talk about the physicality of the Premier League and the time it takes to adapt. Even Rodri, when he joined the Premier League, it took him a year to kind of get up to that speed. With Zubimendi, it just looks like he's taking to it like a duck to water. Yeah. So, and it looks like he's one step ahead of the game and one step ahead of everyone else. The ball comes to him, he already knows what he's doing, where everyone is. There was that moment where he kind of flicked it and then flicked it again into Gyökeres behind him.
He goes, the outside of his right foot on the edge of the box.
He goes,
exactly.
He knew long before the ball arrived at his feet that was what he was going to do. He doesn't even need to look round the shoulder again.
That was Bergkamp.
Yeah, it's quality.
I don't want to get ahead of myself because we have got Slavia Prague as mentioned, but you, Rory, then just mentioned Bayern Munich. That's obviously a huge game. I believe they beat us a couple of years ago in the Champions League. That's really ringing a bell, So, looking at it, how are you both feeling ahead of that game, which is a huge game, one of the heavyweights in Europe? I have us down as favourites in my mind for it.
I think they'll be worried about us, which is that's how far we've come, and say that last night was a mistake. People look at that last night and they go, wow, that they've beat... Atletico Madrid don't get beat under Simeone. Real Madrid only lost one game this season in the Liga, and that was against Atletico. They beat them 5-1. So, I think as well it might suit us because Bayern Munich will be on the front foot and it'll be like a basketball game. And what we want to have that bit more control. But that's a little further down, you know what I mean? Don't want our players to get injured. That's what I just look at it.
Well, I mean, the good news is we've got more depth than ever at the moment. So, and we'll have players coming back and all of that. Something I wanted to ask you both, though, obviously a fantastic victory, fine margins, as we were discussing earlier. But just our number 10 at the moment, Eberechi Eze, there's a few people online. Rory, I'll come to you on this first. Few people online, just saying that they want a little bit more from Eze. He's putting in decent performances, but they want to see a little bit more from our 10.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to see more from everyone. I think the Fulham game was probably the quietest game he's had so far. I thought last night, to be honest, he played one lovely ball into Saka that was a good chance to score from. He has that shot that hits the crossbar, which, again, those moments, he has this incredible way of kind of gliding with the ball where it never looks like he's sprinting and yet he's moving away from players and getting that space to get the shot off. But against a team like Atletico Madrid, it's very difficult to break down, and any 10 is going to sort of struggle to be super flashy in a game like that. But I thought he was functional, very tidy, and there will be other games where you'll get more out of him. I think we're unfortunate. We've only seen we saw 20 minutes at the start of the West Ham game where you had Ødegaard and Eze in the same midfield, and I think that's where we will see a lot of creativity over time. But no, for what he's done, I'm pretty happy.
Is that the thing? He's coming from Crystal Palace where he's their best player, he's their main player. Then he comes to Arsenal where you're not the main player, and you have to again prove yourself. You have to prove you can handle the expectations of Arsenal, and he's done it. He's been sevens, and when he's been playing, so as you said there, the ball he put through for Saka with his right foot, where he just puts a little bit of swerve on it, and Oblak saves it, and Saka tries to nick it past him. That's why he's in the side. But the other thing as well is Arteta is very control-based. Yeah. So he's had to come into with Palace, even though they played the 3-4-2-1 sort of system, he could still drift about when he wanted to. With us, he knows defensively when we go our 4-4-2 and he has to go level with Gyökeres, he has to then take on other information, and he just looks like he's just gone, OK, I know what I'm doing here. And he tried that first 15, 20 minutes where we were on it. He was the one who was getting himself on the ball, and he said he glides left, he glides right, he plays little 1-2s. So, I'm just look at him, you go, I'm not funny, we're top of the league, we just beat Atletico Madrid 4-0, haven't conceded a goal in the Champions League stages, right? So new signings, I don't see how anybody can go, they're questionable, because you just go, actually no, it's been quite a smooth transition. Do you know what I mean? So you sit there and you go, yeah, it's all right, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's all right. We're level top in the Champions League, top in the Premier League. Can't exactly complain. And also, we levelled, that was Atletico's joint worst defeat in the Champions League and the European Cup. So before it was even the Champions League, we levelled that. So, and that's against the team who, as you were mentioning, Perry, are notorious for being able to defend. Lots of talk around us being favourites for the competition. I know Jamie O'Hara giving me second mention on the show today. This week has been talking about the fact that we haven't won this and we haven't won that and all the rest of it. But where do you have us in terms of favourites for the Champions League?
I said before the season that we would be one of the favourites to win the Premier League and the Champions League. And if you look, I love the groups. I love this group stage, like finishing in the top 8. I think it's brilliant because I think there's more jeopardy in the last round with teams who've got to get in it. So you've got to make sure, obviously in your 8, then you've got to make sure you're in the 4 because then you get your away legs first, don't you, as you go through in the competition. And people forget as well, PSG lost 3 games in the group the league stage last season. They lost 5 in all. They lost 5 games in the Champions League and still won the Champions League. So there's always going to be teams that hit their form January onwards, which PSG did. So at the moment you're going, it's going all right for us. But Arsenal fans, so it's just like what it's done is it's eased the pressure. It's eased the pylon. Do you know what I mean? It's like we can all just go, actually, we're doing okay. So you'd say, you mentioned sort of Bayern Munich, you mentioned Real Madrid, you mentioned us, obviously PSG. I'd put us up there in that group, do you know what I mean, of probably 5 have got a realistic chance of winning it.
Yeah, I think, weirdly, we're almost better built to win the Champions League than the Premier League. Oh, actually, this year, the Premier League as well, because we've got the depth. But I think because we're so solid, you even look at like a PSG last night, they win the game 7-2, brilliant win. But they concede twice, they get sent down to 10 men, conceded a couple of penalties. There's not that kind of lack of control with our performances. And I think going into the latter stages, you don't lose a game, you win. So, yeah, I think we're in a good place. We've got that squad depth and we'll see how it goes.
Well, you mentioned the Premier League there, Rory. Well, at the weekend, the Gunners confirmed a 3-point gap at the summit of the Prem with a vital away win over Fulham. A second half, the Andro Trossard strike, well, that was enough to send Arteta's men back to North London with maximum points. And Perry, not past couple of seasons, it's not been an easy place for us to go, Craven Cottage. The last 2 seasons, we got a draw there and then we lost the year before. So to get that monkey off our backs, nice.
Yeah, very much so. And you come back after international break, do you know what I mean? So then you're just worried, again, all Arsenal fans beyond me included, thinking just make sure that we're injured and see who's been taken off and, I ain't playing any minutes. 1-0 to the Arsenal, as I said, has quite a good ring about it, really. Again, if you get that rep, because Fulham, when you're playing these games, the opposition always, because it happens when Liverpool play at Craven Cottage, happens when Man City, they raise their game, do you know what I mean? They find another level and you've got to be able just to abate that. And it's exactly what we did. And then when we go 1-0 up, that's when you just go, we're all right. And normally when you go 1-0 up, you get a little bit tense and you drop deep. We don't do that. Do you know what I mean? And Arsenal fans at the game, I wasn't enough to be there at the game, you think, actually, no, we feel in control here. We feel like we're going to see this one out. So, it's just, again, as you said, they're a nemesis and we know they're going to be difficult to play against. You win it 1-0. Doesn't have to. You ain't going to play brilliant in every league game that you play. It's impossible. So the ones that you're not hitting the levels that you like to, but you still win it and win it 1-0, they're the games you look back in. They're the games that we were drawing last season. Yeah. And we drew too many. And you win. We'll talk about Palace later on. That game is exactly the same. The position we got ourselves in after 7 games with those difficult fixtures was brilliant. Now it's right. Now you've got to kick on again. This next batch of games before the next international break, and everybody's looking at them going, oh, they're quite comfortable. You go, no, they're not, because they're the ones that you don't want to slip up on. Do you know what I mean? They're the ones you have to take maximum points.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing that Perry mentions just there in terms of being a fan, because I don't know about you, but I very much feel when Arsenal are 1-0 up now, I feel a lot more calm, than maybe the Mustafi days. I feel very good. Gabriel and Saliba at the back there, Timber as well, Calafiori, Lewis-Skelly, Ben White. I mean, we've got Nkapie as well, who we've not seen play. Mosquera. Yeah. I mean, the depth is scary. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah, that Fulham game. You think you're away from home. They add on 9 minutes of injury time. You think, oh, you're going to be under the cosh here. We really weren't. And that's part of the way that we play and control games and suffocate teams, is that by the time you get to the 100th minute of the game, which is what it was, Fulham players are knackered. They haven't got the energy to actually bomb forward and put us under that pressure. But you look at it now, you think if we go 1-0 up, and that's a mental thing for the opposition as well. If they go 1-0 down, you go, long way back now, which is great.
Trossard coming up with another clutch goal for us as well, Rory. I mean, he's got a habit of doing that for us.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most disrespected players in the squad at the moment in terms of, there's a lot of grumbling when he was in the starting lineup. And to be fair, up until his goal, it probably wasn't a great performance. And he does look brighter when he does come off the bench. But I saw some stats the other day in terms of what he's been since he arrived at the club. I think he's like the 5th highest scorer under Arteta, 3rd most assists, always available. And that kind of interchangeable position where you've got him and you've got Martinelli, and you've got Martinelli scoring in the Champions League and him scoring in the Premier League, it's such a good situation to have. And he does just have that knack of being in the right place at the right time to score an important goal.
Do you know what do we get him for?
27 million.
Right. Yeah. But then again, sliding doors moments, we were trying to sign Mudryk.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're trying to sign Mudryk for, would have been upwards of 80 in the end, 60, whatever. That doesn't come off because he gets more money at Chelsea. And then you go, OK, we'll go and get Trossard. And at the time, it didn't blow people away. But you mentioned there, he comes up with important goals and big goals. And he's another one where he plays on that left normally. It gives you a little bit more control. Do you know what I mean? Because he is good at taking the ball in like tight areas. And he's finishing, I know that one was off his 5, where you still have to read where the flick-on's going, but his finishing is good, whether it's right foot or left foot. 9 times out of 10, he hits the target. I just want him to maybe look like he's really enjoying scoring a bit. Do you know what I mean? Have a little smile on his face or lose it. But he don't. He's like, no, I've just done it again.
He's a bit serious, isn't he? But I think it's because he wants to play. But the thing is, at this Arsenal side now, you can't play every week. Arteta has already spoken many times now about the starters and the finishers, and it seems to be working out for us so far this season.
Yeah. Do you know what on that? The finishers or the impactors, and he wants the players on the bench to feel as important as start 11, he's actually changed the way that they get changed in the dressing room. Because in the old days, it was goalkeeper closest shower, back 4, midfield, strikers, and then the subs. So you in your units. So he's changed it to numerical, so that he didn't want the impactors feeling less important than what the side. So when he first did it, I was like, no, I'm traditionalist. I'm like, no. Then when I found out why I did it, I'm like, 100%, I get it now. So it don't matter where you are. If you're 41, Declan Rice gets changed over in the corner. So he takes the hierarchy of the starters to the subs. Sorry, not subs. Can't say subs.
Yeah, the finishers.
Finishers.
Yeah. I mean, it's just another evolution of football, I guess, Rory, isn't it? We've seen so many different things change over the years, and this is just one of those things that we're going to look back on probably in 5 years' time as, oh wow, that was a thing.
Yeah, I think. Look, we've got. Now you can make 5 subs instead of 3. I've seen that they're looking at maybe making that 6 subs instead. So now you're talking over half a squad that are the impactors, finishers. You see it in rugby as a great example where there are players that their entire career is built, like South Africa's entire front row. They switch that out on about 50 minutes and that's the plan. And they know that the importance that they have coming on. So I think when you've got so much talent on the bench as well, if you're Trossard on the bench last night, you're looking around and, there's so much other talent on the bench as well. You're going, well, I'm not a bad player, clearly, because I'm sat on the bench with Waneri and whoever else. So.
The thing is, well, what happens is, they call them like the finishers in rugby, don't they, the impactors. Yeah. People say that the level doesn't drop off, the player you bring, but it hasn't. The level actually goes up because the player that's coming on is exactly the same level as the one that's gone off, but the opposition are more tired and a bit more fatigued, so their levels drop, and then that level, say, just for instance, if it's Eze and Odegaard, if Odegaard goes off or Odegaard and then one comes on, they end up getting more space in those areas around the 18-yard box. So the standard actually goes up. Because if you're playing against him, you're like, oh no, please don't bring him on. Do you know what I mean? And we've got like Waneri come on and did really well last night. Got himself on the ball, looked lively, didn't have a decent shot. So these players know they have something to prove and they have to stay at that level because they want to play in the next game.
It just gives opposition teams and managers and players just another thing that they have to think about as well, right? This Arsenal team now, this Arsenal squad now, the depth that we have, the danger and the quality and depth that we have as well. It's just so hard for, I'm guessing on the training ground, maybe you can shed some light on this, Perry, for them to predict our starting 11 even in the run-up to the game can be quite difficult.
Yeah, of what it is, that they can predict maybe our formation. Do you know what I mean? Because we always know that we have a sitter, whether it's Zubimendi or whether it's Declan Rice is playing in there. So when the team sheet comes in, they can work out how we're gonna play. But it's the level of the players that they're playing against. And people who watch us regularly, we do rotate. It's not as if we just stay in like the channels. Like Eze last night was getting it on the left-hand side, comes right. Declan Rice will come from deep and get himself in the 18 and get beyond Gyökeres. So it's not as if... Last season, I got to admit, I thought we was a bit too robotic. I thought it was a bit too paint by numbers.
Right.
This season, it seems like it's like the only one you could say who doesn't really like come in past the mid of the pitch is like Saka, because he's always like giving us that width on the... But he's benefiting from, number one, Gyökeres, and number two, how brilliant Timber's been.
I was just about to say, yeah.
He's been a different level. Like Ben White is a level, right? And Timber, I think when Ben White's fit and fully functioning, they're very similar. But I think Timber's just got a little bit more with his technique to go in tight areas and create stuff, round about the 18-yard box than when Ben White has.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, Timber, sensational. He's been fantastic since he's come into the team, after getting that terrible injury. He's keeping Ben White out. But I don't know about you, Rory. I kind of feel like when Ben White is in the team, especially when Ødegaard plays and Saka plays, that triangle there, we get something different with that versus Timber. But again, it's great to have, pardon the pun, that in our arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Two different ways of playing.
Yeah, 100%. And that triangle had been so good for us, but then it became predictable and you knew exactly how Arsenal were going to line up. Whereas now, you see Timber, and I think the part of Timber's game that's really developed this season is offensively what he's offering in attack.
Yeah.
And he's drifting into these spaces kind of between the centre-back and the full-back, where Gyökeres is occupying both centre-backs. The full-back's thinking, well, I've got to mark Saka. And he's finding himself in those areas. Against West Ham, wins the penalty there. So, yeah, I just think we're blessed with so many options, so many solutions. And if you are the opposition preparing for a game against Arsenal, if you look at the other side, Calafiori or Lewis-Skelly, two totally different players. And if you don't know which one of them's going to start, you've got to think about both leading up to the game.
Do you know what happens as well is it's difficult for them to double up on Bukayo Saka.
Yeah.
Like last season, he was being doubled. Atletico Madrid tried to do it last night where they had a flat back four, but then out of position, then the wide play came in and made it sort of five. But because Timber was playing so far forward and they know that he can cause problems, then that player who's trying to double up then has to come out. And then there was loads of times in the first half especially that Saka was left 1v1. There's loads of times that he went past the full-back 1v1. That wasn't happening last season because he was running into bodies, you know what I mean? So there's, different angles that then come.
I also think on Saka being 1v1 more often, I've noticed Declan Rice a lot more this season, picking up the ball on the left-hand side and spraying that ball first time instead of recycling across the back four to get it out to Saka. He's just going first time long ball, and Saka's touch at the other end of it is unbelievable. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was picked up on, wasn't it, last season? It was taking us a long time to, go from back to front, whereas...
It's too structured.
We've made a bit of a tweak this year. And
what happens as well, we're going longer, quicker because of Gyökeres. What it means is when the press is on, David Raya's delivery is brilliant. Even if you look at Gabriel and Saliba, they go longer because hopefully Gyökeres not up. But even if it's a bit of mayhem where he challenges and then you win a knockdown, then the opposition can't get themselves structured. Do you know what I mean? So it's just different options that we've got.
Yeah, we've seen numerous times now, haven't we? Gyökeres is a bit of a bully up there, which is what we've lacked for a long time. Often there'll be a ball put into him over the top, and he's second favourite to win it, and he just uses his strength to be able to get there first.
Yeah, he's a bit of a flat track bully in that sense, and especially when it's fed into the channel and he can go shoulder to shoulder. I think when it's up in the air and he gets caught underneath it, he's not maybe as proficient as you want him to be, but into the channel, shoulder to shoulder, he just has that ability to shrug players off, which is so good.
If you can handle it, again, they were saying about levels, he had the years in the Championship where he's Coventry's top scorer, got 20 goals 2 seasons. Yeah. If you can handle physicality Championship, you can handle physicality of the Premier League, even though the Premier League is a step up in pace, you can handle that physicality, and this is exactly what he's done. So again, there'll be people looking at he's not going to be a Kai Havertz, which obviously when Kai Havertz gets fit and he comes in, he gives you something different completely because he's one who does hold it in and then comes a bit deep and then links people up. And he'll be the one that you can get around, and Gyökeres is the one who goes the other way. So again, you've got two different sort of centre forwards.
Yeah, brilliant to have options as always. Right, so one of the favourites in the Champions League is what you both said. Top of the Premier League at the moment. Favourites for the Prem?
Yeah.
But the thing is, where we are, you'd have to say the bookies would have us favourites.
Right.
But Liverpool are having their blip right now. In the season, we are going to have a blip. And it's how quickly you get out of that. Do you know what I mean? That Liverpool's has gone on, obviously, everyone knows it lost like 4 on spin. We're going to draw one and lose one. And then it's going to be, Arsenal wobbling, whatever. And then you have to just get out of that like pretty quickly. I still think Liverpool are going to come. Man City, to be fair, Haaland City. And to be honest, it's like if they don't get him scoring, they're going to struggle. And they're actually a little bit more consistent than what I thought they was going to be. So it's no different. It's us, Liverpool, Man City. That's what it was at the beginning of the season. But we weren't in control. We're in control. You want to be in control. Yeah. We've got the destiny in our own hands.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Now we've got our noses out in front. It's about, and like you said, in terms of the upcoming fixtures are maybe easier on paper. Now it's about actually put your foot down.
Exactly.
Because City and Liverpool play each other just before the next international break. So one or both of them is going to drop points there. We can extend the lead.
Draw, hopefully.
Hopefully a draw. You can extend the lead at that point to sort of 5-6 points over both of them. And then it's just about maintaining that.
All right, well, we'll be looking to extend our lead at the top of the table on Sunday with another London clash against Crystal Palace. But before we look at that game, there's a very special birthday today, guys. No, it's not anyone in the studio. Don't bring cake. But none other than a certain Arsène Wenger. So just for a bit of fun, we're going to reveal our favourite memories of our legendary manager. And I'll go first. I've got a couple, actually. I won't go into too much detail about them, otherwise I'll be here all day. But one of them was being at his final home game in person. That was just amazing to be there, you know, when he came out and did the speech at the end and ended it with "I will miss you," you know, such a great talker anyway. That was brilliant. The first double, of course, a fantastic memory to have. And then just a random one, kind of from being so chronically online. So I don't know, Rory, you might know this one, but when he was asked about Mesut Ozil.
Oh, that was mine.
Have I nicked it? Have I stolen it? That was just...
I've got another one, don't
All
worry.
right. Let's do you.
Do you, Mesut?
Well, he was asked about Mesut Ozil and he kind of tried to play it off like it wasn't happening, but his face was so smug, it was so obvious. And it was just a brilliant Arsène Wenger moment. So, Perry, what's yours?
I've just been lucky enough to be in his presence a couple of times, and presence is the word. He has a presence. He's not someone who comes into a room who's like wants to be loud and look at me and look at my intelligence. He doesn't overwhelm me with his intelligence. He just has an aura about him. You're born like that. Do you know what I mean? He has this aura, and probably at Old Trafford, where he obviously kicked the water bottle and then he's up like don't know where to go or whatever. Because Ray Parlour tells a brilliant story about they call him Inspector Clouseau because he's very accident prone. Do you know what I mean? And it was a weird thing. Amy Lawrence wrote a book called Invincible, and in it she mentioned about Arsène Wenger coming to a game before he was our manager in the late 80s. I think he was manager of Monaco, just a guess. He had nothing. Typical Arsène, had nothing to do, so he thought I'll go and watch a game of football. Yeah. And she put, and surprisingly, the one player that he thought was had done well was Perry Groves.
Oi, oi.
So Amy gave it a bit of a dig, right? But I'm like, if Arsène Wenger thinks I was a decent player, I'll take that. And I saw Amy about 2 weeks later after launch in the dressing room at the Emirates, and you could tell she was a bit wary. And I just went, right, aim like that. And she went, all right, Perry. I went, Arsène Wenger knows his stuff, doesn't he? just left it with her. So, but we were lucky that we had George Graham, who was the Arteta, who changed the culture, put the desire, the passion back in. He took us on to a winning level. And then when Arsène Wenger came, he took it another level. Do you know what I mean? And we were lucky, number one, that he loved football. And number two, he came to Arsenal because he didn't only change Arsenal football, he changed football culture in this country. I know people about Guardiola and Klopp. Arsène Wenger had a massive, miles bigger influence on training methods, on recovery, on diets, and he doubled the players' wages. So players will buy into you when you double them. You double, because people don't realise Arsenal weren't great payers. We were like the 8th or 9th. Every time we won the leagues, we were like the 8th or 9th best players. So he looked at the wage and he went, Lee Dixon, Nigel Winterburn, Steve Bold, Tony Adams, all the players there, he went, well, they're not enough money. So if a manager doubles your money, then all of a sudden you're like, I God, he's good, isn't he?
Love this guy.
I'll run through him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He also was very good at stitching the old school guys with the new gen players, wasn't he? You know, like the Nigel Winterburns of the world, the Lee Dixons, the Ray Parlers. You know, they all went on longer and were able to play with, you know, the Vieiras of the world.
I think he had a bit of an influence on the drinking culture as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you in your head you go, no, don't drink as much, you recover quicker and you might be a bit fitter. And you're like, all right, that's quite a good idea. But that every club had a drinking culture. It wasn't just us. We were just quite good at it.
Yeah.
Rory.
Yeah, I had the moment on top of the stands as well. I think that kind of dry sense of humour that he had, I always loved, and just the way that he was, like, it just felt like he was more intelligent than a lot of people around him, and the way that he would say things where he'd sort of border the line of saying something that would get him in trouble, but just fall on the right side of it, but he'd get his point across.
Yeah.
So there's that quote about, you know, when he dies, whether he goes to heaven or hell, he'll ask where the referees are first. Stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, just those moments, and yeah, bon anniversaire or whatever it is they say in French.
Yeah. One of the douche rodders.
Right, Palace then on the weekend, Perry. I'll probably ask you both this. Are you expecting changes?
Yeah, but maybe 2 or 3. You know what I mean? But the thing is, with Palace, they've won defeat in 21 in all competitions. So you know Oliver Glasner, again, we said it's going to be the 3-4, like 2-1 system where they're very, very structured. Ismail Sarr has taken on like the Eze sort of role. Mateta's in the form of his life. But they play at home in the Conference League on Thursday night, which is the first ever home European game in their history, right? So there's going to be a lot of emotions that's going in that. Then they play us on the Sunday. So on if we can keep it, even if it's tight, I want to score early goal, obviously, but if it's tight, I'd expect us, again, in that last 25 minutes, to push on a level and them just to be struggling a little bit because of everything they've gone in on the Thursday.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think we'll make many changes. I think Calafiori will come back in, Trossard maybe comes back in, but other than that, like I said, I think now is the time that you put your foot down rather than go, you know, if you start making changes after getting through that tough period, it almost gives the impression of, we can relax a bit. I don't think Palace is the game to do that. I think Brighton in the Carabao Cup is probably the game to do that. So, and yeah, like you said, Palace have got the disadvantage of playing tomorrow night. So yeah, I think we go strong. It will be a difficult game. They'll be difficult to break down for the first 60 minutes probably. And that's where you've got your impactors. They don't have the sort of depth that we've got anywhere near it, and they'll have to go full strength.
That's the thing, isn't it? You know, we've been there. The Thursday, Sunday grind, as they call it, is not easy. But also Crystal Palace, they don't have the depth in numbers. You know, so if they have a tough game tomorrow night, coming up against us on the Sunday, they're going to be beat.
Yeah, it's again, as I said, it's not just the physical, it's the emotional side of it. Because I've been at Selhurst Park, you've been there, and the place will be rocking. You know what I mean? The expectation with them to go on and win it. So sometimes it can work in your favour. You know, just they got that little less recovery. You've got 40 hours sort of recovery time, and the last team you'd want to be playing on that Sunday would be us. And again, us being at home as well. That's the last place that you want to go. So it's all about the attitude. It's all about the levels, not just the levels in performance, it's the levels of your mental application where you're saying you don't drop off. You know what I mean? You make sure you're at your levels, and because of the players that can come in, those levels don't drop. And the good thing about Arteta in a minute is, which I didn't think he was doing last year, he'll make substitutions earlier. I think that's been a bit of a change as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you expect Victor Gyökeres to hopefully bring that midweek form through to the weekend?
Yeah, hopefully. Like I said, you know, the performances have been consistent. Hopefully he pops up with another goal. It would be nice for him to score, don't get me wrong, a goal's a goal, but, you know, a nice goal, quote unquote, if he cuts in onto his right and whips one in, that would be nice. But yeah, I think he'll have to start. Obviously, we still haven't got Havertz or Jesus back, and yeah, it should be a win.
It's frightening when you think about the players that we're waiting to come back. You know, Noni Madueke as well, another one of those. Just a word on Eberechi Eze, of course, playing against his former club. You expect him to get a good reception from the Palace fans?
Absolutely, because him and Mark Gahey as well, they showed the way that you should leave a club, because Eze, the Palace fans knew Eze was too good for Palace. You know what I mean? He proved he played there, obviously won their first trophy, major trophy in their history. So he'll get a rousing reception from the 3,000 Palace fans at the clock end without any shadow of a doubt, because he's done it in the right way, and he's a very humble because Mikel Arteta doesn't sign anybody if they're not humble, and he's a very humble player anyway, so he'll get a rapturous reception from the Palace fans, without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. Might be a few hand signals from a few disgruntled ones, but most of them will give him a good reception.
It's interesting, isn't it, the different nuances between, you know, when a player leaves a club. Like, I always find the Declan Rice West Ham fan relationship one quite baffling. You know, he essentially won them a European trophy and then left, and they hate him. You know, I find it strange.
They did get 105 million quid from him as well.
We got him half price though.
Well, no one mentions it now, do they? No one cares.
No, the West Ham one is the bizarre one. I think that what more could he didn't force the move. He won them the trophy, gets them 105 million that they've spent pretty poorly based on how they're currently playing, and he's never disrespected them whatsoever since he joined Arsenal. So that's a weird one, but yeah, I think with Eze, the Palace fans.
I think with the Declan Rice one, there's only one club he could have gone to would upset him more, would have been that mob up the road. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's because it's us. That is mainly why. If he'd have gone to Liverpool, Man City, they wouldn't have been as bothered by it.
No.
Right, prediction time for this game. I know everybody hates predictions, but what do you think, Perry?
I think it will be a very functional performance because they're obviously very well structured, and I'm going for 2-0.
Okay.
2-0 was mine as well. I think it's been our most...
I'll go 3-0 then.
Oh, there you go. I think 2-0's been our most common scoreline this season. So, you know, we've only conceded in 3 games out of 12. You've got to assume we'll keep another clean sheet, or hope we keep another clean sheet, and a couple of set pieces just to wind everyone up would be nice.
You know what happens now, right? Both of us, last year it would have been, well, maybe 2-1, 3-1. Now, everybody says 0.
Yeah.
Because we're even now going, actually, we're looking pretty solid, do you know what I mean? So,
well,
that means it'll be 5-2.
just to throw something in there, I'll say 1-0 then. 1-0 to the Arsenal.
1-0 for
Another nice little ring about it.
So we've got a 1-0, a 2-0 and a 3-0. Right, that is all we've got time for on today's Inside Gooners. Thank you very much for your company. Of course, thank you to Perry Groves and to Rory Talks Football. We'll see you next time. Up the gun, come on!